Are you ready? Lost in His Own Museum podcast presents
Video content. This week's episode of Lost in His Own Museum is brought to you by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add our podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. Lost in His Own Museum, episode 11.
I know, we've made it the right side past 10.
I know, yeah, it's mental, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah, 10 was good. 10 was good fun.
10 was really good fun.
Yeah, that is a bit of a favourite movie of ours. This time we are talking about Edgar Wright's Cornetto trilogy.
We are indeed, yeah.
Which is, it's weird because there's a couple of American podcasts I listen to, and I've heard it described by American podcasters, and absolutely sort of no offence to our American listeners at all, we love you. But it's interesting that the Cornetto trilogy gets described as being underrated in the States. Whereas in the UK it's like...
It's a staunch favourite, or at least the first two entries are.
Without that, we're fiercely proud of Simon Pegg in the UK.
We are indeed, yeah. Yeah, like I said, the first two entries are absolutely fantastic and laugh out loud comedies. But they also managed to maintain the whole sort of telling a serious story. I say a serious story. The storytelling's like, it's not second to the comedy, like the two go hand in hand is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Edgar Wright's got this real talent for taking, I would say serious and even quite sort of mundane sometimes in terms of the story. Like not like a boring story, but just a sort of everyday weirdness that happens in everyday life and just making it hilarious. And it's through, you know, the guy's one of the greatest visual storytellers on the planet. He's so good. Like,
he's really just a phenomenal talent, is Edgar Wright, isn't he? I mean, like, even though, like, to completely go off topic well, on topic but off topic, he was going to direct Ant-Man, the MCU effort, and then he left due to creative differences, and so he's only credited as a writer because the story credit's his. And like you can see the difference from his influence in like Ant-Man 1 to Ant-Man 2.
Absolutely. I remember watching Ant-Man 1 and thinking this has got Edgar Wright written all over it. And obviously not so much in the second one. Was he not credited as a producer as well?
I'm not sure if he was credited as a producer. I know he's credited as a writer.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously Peyton Reed took over and did a pretty good job.
It is a really good movie.
But I mean it just what could have been with with Edgar Wright doing it would have been absolutely fantastic.
Some of the editing's absolutely top notch. It's just it's not even like physical comedy, just visual comedy that has like, I mean obviously the dialogue helps, but like the comedy's totally separate from that in places. And I think the only I'm going to try and get you to guess what I'm going to say here. There's only one director I can think of who rivals him in that, and I think is someone who Edgar Wright probably has taken a lot of influence from.
It's not David Fincher, is it?
No. I think earlier.
We've gone 11 for 11. Yeah. I don't know, Chaplin maybe?
No.
Oh, you've stumped me now.
John Landis.
John Landis,
man. Like, he's a genius with this, you know, like when you watch stuff like the Blues Brothers and like, sorry, we've got Trey going past. You got watch stuff like the Blues Brothers and like, and Coming to America, and you know,
I suppose he's really talented bloke, isn't he, as well, and
really
absolutely made some really fantastic films in his day.
But the editing's certainly like a standout thing for me with Edgar Wright, and the editing and the camera work, and the way that he tells the story, and it's very serious. Like the camera work's often very serious.
Yeah, and he sort of doesn't, like say he's making a comedy. But he doesn't make it like a comedy.
Yeah, the cinematography is often like really dramatic and quite kind of quite sort of aggressively serious, you know, and obviously to contrast the editing, and it's stuff like this little details, like you know when Simon Pegg's sitting on the railway platform in Hot Fuzz, and when the train goes past, the plant like it cuts really quickly and the plant wobbles.
Yeah,
it's stuff like that. It's like because that's the perfect way to tell the story of someone leaving town, you know. Rather than kind of the cliche thing of like aerial shots of bridges and all that sort of stuff, like new city, look at this, and it's when it does little shots to his phone with a signal slowly going down and that, and it's just there's so much detail in a really short scene.
It's great, isn't it? Yeah. So I suppose, like I say, we're going to be primarily talking about Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, and The World's End.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll touch on other films that he's done.
Scott
Pilgrim, obviously, and Baby Driver as well. But the focus is going to be those three films. Phil, what's your favourite of that quote unquote trilogy?
It's Hot Fuzz.
It's Hot Fuzz, isn't it?
It's one of my favourite films ever. Like it's one of the, I'll probably watch it about once every 6 months. And I've got to be honest, like I'm not hugely familiar with the other two, in the same sort of way, because Hot Fuzz is just like it's just amazing. It's so quotable and like you know we all sort of used to sit around at school quoting Hot Fuzz.
But you do though, don't you? There's so many different bits of it. You know,
hear that Sergeant Angel's back. Check out his horse.
Paint a bit of Mary, right? You are my love.
Oh my god, it's so funny.
But it's one of those things. It's almost got to me like the same sort of quality that Peter Kay's comedy has here in the UK. That it's sort of like even the lines that aren't necessarily funny are still quotable.
Yeah.
It's like it's not just the punchlines you find yourself quoting, is it? It's just the dialogue, you know.
Well, that's another thing about Edgar Wright, man. Because I mean, the dialogue in particularly in Hot Fuzz, it's just amazing. Because it, like as I was saying before, like the same thing with the camera work. It's all really serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that's why it's funny, obviously, because it's like it's out of place in this really bizarre situation, this really weird town, and it's like you can tell the characters aren't deliberately being funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like
not trying like
with you know obviously Simon Pegg playing Sergeant Angel and he's sort of like you know obviously being the audience surrogate. His frustration is hilarious, isn't it? Because he obviously is working as you know a real police officer. And he's trying to solve this crime, and then everything else, like you say, around it is slapstick, and the location is stupid, and it's like you know, everybody's larger than life, and you know, it's like when Nick Frost, when Danny's trying to get into the car, and he's like, "I hope you're not going to drive that." No.
And that's one of my favourite bits of camera work because it's when Danny gets into the car, reverses backwards, and it's the close up on Simon Pegg's face when he does like the power roll.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, when he does like the John Woo roll across the street, he's like, I'm doing the face, but you can't.
Right.
It's a really serious face.
I'm taking you to the station.
Where is it?
And then there's
it's brilliant.
So how's our guest doing? Our guest? Nobody tells me nothing.
Bill Bailey as well.
Yeah.
Man.
And he's the inebriate in cell 4. He's gone. And he's like, Who's gone? Who's gone? It's like, what are you doing wearing those clothes? I'm a police officer.
Wait, why, yeah, what was it like? Why are you dressed as a policeman? Because I am one. Just class, like.
And it's like, how many friends over the years have gone? What do you want to do tonight?
No.
Pub.
Oh man, it's the perfect movie. We could sit here and quote the whole thing. I'm sure between us we know the script back and forth. But you're talking about real sort of MVP cast members as well. You know, like because obviously you've got that same thing as you've got with a lot of British comedies. I mean, it happens in the States as well. You know, with like the SNL crowd and stuff like that. Yeah, you know, if you've got Dan Aykroyd in something like John Belushi's never usually far behind, and Bill Murray and stuff like that. But with you know you've got these kind of if we had our own version of SNL, it would be you know you'd have Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and then you've got like people like Paddy Considine turning up in it.
like Martin Freeman. Steve Coogan's in it for a brief second, and the Jim Broadbent's obviously in it.
Yeah,
Olivia Colman.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oscar-winning Olivia Colman.
She's so good.
There's Doris Butcher. I've been around the station a few times.
She's in everything. Like this is the weird thing about Olivia Colman, because like she's quite a new Oscar-winning sensation as an actress. You know what I mean? Like she's quite new to that sort of circuit, but she was everywhere in like the late 90s and early 2000s. Man, she was all over it. Like I've been watching Skins. I haven't seen it since I was a teenager. And I was like, for those of you that don't know, if you're too young or if you're in the States, Skins is like a one of those shows where loads and loads of people were in them before they were famous. And yeah, Olivia Colman turns up in that as one of their parents. You know what I mean?
Did you ever watch the spin-off they did of Skins?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they did a spin-off with Bargain Hunt.
Yeah,
called it Gash in the Attic. Badum.
Wait, no, I haven't got a real drum kit in here.
I was looking for
a snare drum.
I remember reading that online, and it just absolutely creasing me. But
like Olivia Colman, she's class. And it's Doris, she's just brilliant. Like, there should be like Oscars for comedy, you know. But then you've got like Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I remember seeing Hot Fuzz.
Everybody's favourite James Bond.
Well,
mine.
Definitely, yeah. I think mine probably as well. Like I remember seeing it in the cinema and thinking that there's no way that's Timothy Dalton. Like, because I was quite young, and at the time I was like, why would Timothy Dalton want to do this? I mean, like, why would he? And obviously, like, you know, you get a bit older, your sensitivities change, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was like, why? And then he's so funny.
Yeah.
He is so funny, man. Like,
I'm a slasher, and I must be stopped.
A slasher at prices. And feel free to spool through, and the photo behind him's doing exactly the same pose.
Yeah,
it's class.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Oh,
I'm sure it's where they nicked that bit in the It Crowd where it zooms out. I think it's like the first shot of the first episode.
Yeah.
And it's the photo of Denim on the wall. And it zooms out and he's on the desk doing it.
Well, I mean, it's more than possible, isn't it? Because obviously Simon Pegg, Nick Frost and Edgar Wright got their starts together doing Spaced for Channel 4, didn't they? And obviously IT Crowd is another Channel 4 comedy. So I reckon there's been a lot of writers' rooms, directors' rooms and things where those people in their youths will have, you know, will have crossed paths. But yeah.
You'll have all the same people and not, you know, I like to think that they all gather now and again and go for a pint together. Do you know what I mean? In some weird bar somewhere. Like, because like obviously with Dylan Moran being in Shaun of the Dead as well. I mean, I love Dylan Moran.
He's great in it, isn't he? And there's him. And there's obviously again Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and Peter Serafinowicz is in it. And I forget the young lady's name that plays Liz, but she turns up. Obviously in loads of other British bits and bobs as well. But yeah, I mean, Shaun of the Dead's one of those where, again, it's an homage. It's not a piss take. It's an homage to George A. Romero and Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. And I mean, he's even said, obviously, that he loved it so much. You know, that he thought that it was just a fantastic tribute, tip of the hat to it. He obviously, as Laura was telling us earlier, he gave not Nick Frost, Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright cameos in his sequel Land of the Dead, which I didn't know until she sort of told us that before, which was interesting. But I mean, when George A. Romero's telling you that your little, as it was at the time, independent comedy is a fitting tribute to a horror masterpiece.
Absolutely, because the thing is as well, it doesn't feel like a parody. You know what I mean?
No,
it's like,
and I think that's what works.
Yeah, because it's for a start, it's very respectful and very, you know, because they're both massive George Romero fans, as is Nick Frost. You know, and I think I can't imagine that George Romero would have thought anything else watching it, because it's like those films are kind of in a genre amongst themselves.
Yeah.
Where it's, even though they're hilarious, it doesn't feel like they're taking a mick out of anything. It doesn't feel like a parody. It feels like they're really doing justice to this thing, and like, look, these are the cliches.
Well, absolutely.
Work,
I mean,
but, you know.
Zack Snyder, the same year, or at least the same sort of time frame as Shaun of the Dead, brought out the official remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
We've watched that before, haven't we? They're in the mall. And Romero didn't care for that at all, but then, like I said, the one that's a piss take.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah.
Loved it, and it's just... Yeah, I love all the carrying over different tropes and things like that are in them. You know, like taking the shortcut and just silly things like that. It's Bill
Nighy as well, man.
Bill Nighy's great. Yeah,
he's class.
Yeah, so we're gonna go to Mum's, get Mum, kill Phil. Sorry, Phil.
Paddy Considine's a favourite actor of mine as well. Like he's one of those people I don't think gets enough credit because he's a bit of that guy, but he's like. Yeah. He's had some really strong roles. He's been in some serious stuff. You know, he was in Peaky Blinders for a while. He's in one of the Bond movies, I think, as well.
Yeah, that rings a bell. I can't tell you which one, but it does ring a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of. I mean, he's talking British guy, but it's like, you know, Paddy Considine's really good, and it is. You know, the guys that play the Andes. It's Paddy Considine and Rafe Spall. He was in Jurassic World as well, and yeah, like they're so funny together. And the whole, particularly with Hot Fuzz, the whole cast.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, like it's Kevin Eldon, isn't it, who plays the not Saxon because that's the dog, but the sergeant,
yeah.
the sergeant that looks after the dog, and he's like my perfect Sunday afternoon, and he's just this bumbling buffoon, but it works, doesn't it? And then you've got the old chap who's like, you know, what have we brought him along for? And he's like,
that's not him we need, it's the dog.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, it's not. Sorry, it's not the dog we need.
Yeah, it's him. Yeah, and he's like, so have you got a license for this firearm?
Well, that's for this.
Well, he does for this one. Yeah. It's like,
yes, I suppose. But it's written beautifully as well. Like, the dialogue's so good.
Yeah, and it's like at times, like say, it forgets that it's a parody, it forgets that it's comedy, does Hot Fuzz, and then there's bits where, like at the end, where we're about to go into the third act, and sort of Danny's done the whole double cross on his dad and the whole secret society and the greater good and all that, and he's like, "Go back to London," and it's just so
back to London.
It's just so overacted and just terrible.
But it's one of those films. It's so perfectly crafted.
Yeah,
you can't fault it. Literally can't fault it. It's a 10 out of 10 movie.
It really is,
because there's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Particularly Hot Fuzz. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's just.
I'd argue Shaun of the Dead's not far behind it. To be fair, and again, I'm not as familiar with it as I am with Hot Fuzz. But you know, just watched it again the other night and had such a great time with it. Like, you know, talking about Edgar Wright as a filmmaker, like the editing is absolutely fantastic. Like the scene in the Winchester pub where they've barricaded themselves in.
Oh, beating the zombies with
yeah, and it's to the beat of Queen, Don't Stop Me Now, and they're in time with it, and you know, it's like, it's just absolute. And then the wordplay is like, you know, David, kill the Queen, and he's thinking, you know, sort of they're meant to think like, well, where's Liz? But no, they don't. They mean like, you know, Brian May and Freddie on the jukebox, and it just, and then
it's class.
And like sort of the mirroring shots as well. Sort of like, you know, you talked about look at Sergeant Angel, look at his horse, and then he goes, look at his horse, you know.
His horse, yeah.
But they do that in like Shaun of the Dead, and it's all like the set up shots, like when he's going to work and he's just in a world of his own and not watching anything going on around him. But then when he's going out the next day, when the zombie apocalypse has come, and everything's still largely the same, but everyone's just zombies, and he doesn't realise for like the longest time.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
it's amazing. Like it's yeah, with Shaun of the Dead, there's certain like sequences that get used in all three of them. You know, like there's that beautiful thing that Edgar Wright does, and I think there's a couple of shots in Scott Pilgrim with it as well, where he does this really quick fire editing for something really mundane just to make it really dramatic, and then everything stops and goes quiet. And I think it's in Shaun of the Dead, it's when he's brushing his teeth. Yeah. And it's like hyper close up of water running onto a toothbrush with like, it's really loud, and then he just puts the toothbrush in his mouth and that's it. And it's in the pub in Hot Fuzz when the barmaid's pouring the pie for him. Yeah, and then the guy making his fry up later on as well, and he's like, and then boom. And then wide shot and it all stops, and it's like they're just quietly sitting at a table. So it's this sort of, because I know it's sort of an act of like foreshadowing. Yeah. Because it's like, this might all seem really mundane, but there's something really dramatic about that. And I love that. I think it's so clever because it's how do you make pouring a pint hilarious on film? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Yeah, I think Edgar Wright's a genius.
Yes. Phil,
Yes.
when's your birthday?
October the 5th.
What year?
Every year.
Just deliberately throwing us off track just to do
I
that.
fall flat a little bit. I'm not giving my date of birth away on the podcast. If anybody does want to send me a card, I'll give you a PO box later in the year.
Lost in his own museum, care of the Biffa bins.
Yeah, who do you think's like the best cast member in each one?
It's Simon Pegg all the way through, isn't it? Really, there is movies, aren't they?
I suppose.
I mean,
sorry, I meant like I worded it wrong. I meant like a supporting.
I was in out of the supporting ones.
So with like not Simon Pegg, not Nick Frost.
So I really like Bill Nighy and his brief appearance in Shaun because he's filled with emotion. And like, you know, it's like say there's actual story there. Like the guy's wasting his life, and you know, I mean, not to get real and personal for a second, I like to think that actually I've got my life pretty much on track at the moment. You know, house, job, partner, you know, all that sort of thing. But like we put it on the other night, and Bill Nighy's giving him a bollocking, and he's going, "Come on, Shaun, you're 29 years old," and I'm like, I've just turned 29. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know if you do it, but like, I still look up like when I watch these people and think, well, because they are older than me in real life. It's like, well, they're well older than me. It's like, actually, he's playing somebody at my time of life, and that hit differently. The whole sort of, you know, sort of stepfather son dynamic in that sort of thing of them, you know, sort of like, you know, come on, be nice to your mum, and then obviously, you know, like obviously it just has more poignance later, doesn't it? Because it's more poignant because obviously Phil's mum dies, and then obviously the mum dies as well, and it's sort of like, what, you know, but like all that in the middle of a comedy.
Yeah.
And so I really like the acting dynamic there, and I really quite like what's going on there. It's
another thing Edgar Wright does very well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Dylan Moran, he's great in it, isn't he? 'Cause he's sort of like the whiny friend, isn't he? That wants to be with Liz, doesn't he? And he's only with Liz's best mate because it's like surrogate Liz.
Yeah. And I think he's my sort of MVP from Shaun of the Dead. I don't know if it's just because I love Dylan Moran. Like, I'm a huge fan of Black Box. I always love Black Box. It's so funny, and
he's great, isn't he? I've never seen any of it. He does a bit of stand up, doesn't he?
Oh, stand up's amazing.
Not seen any of that, but I mean, he's obviously great in that film.
He's hilarious. He's a really funny dude.
Yeah, it just proper great ensemble cast of people. I think they all just work so well together. In Hot Fuzz, it's got to be hashtag Timmy D.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Timothy Dalton. Yeah.
I mean, you've got so many great sort of, like you say, British just heavyweights in there. You got Jim Broadbent, you got Stuart Wilson, and you know, obviously, like I say, Timothy Dalton as well, and you know, like Paddy Considine, and then the cameos from the police sergeants at the beginning, where you've got Coogan and Freeman, and you know, Bill Nighy again. And
Bill Nighy's brilliant in that one.
Obviously, Olivia Colman, and there's just so many different people in it.
I love that sequence because it feels like climbing up the generational ladder of British actors.
Yeah.
Of like a British comedy, you know what I mean? You've got like Martin Freeman, and then Steve Coogan, and then Bill Nighy, who's like top tier. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is welcome to the history of British comedy. This is this. Like, it's
like if they'd have had to go to the commissioner, they'd have got Rowan Atkinson or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello.
Like, yeah, I love that. I love that scene, and even though it's so brief, and you do see him again later on, but I think it kind of sets the mood of the film. And it's one of the funniest bits, and I don't know why it makes me laugh so much, but it's when they're at the crime scene, and everybody's geared up, and he comes in and makes this big speech to his girlfriend, Janine, I'm going away for a while. I don't know when I'll be back, and he makes this big powerful speech, and then the guy goes, I'm not Janine.
I'm Janine. Oh, please tell me it's not Bob. Oh, God, it's not Bob.
He walks behind him and goes, hello there.
Yeah, it's Dave. Hello there. Do you know who the girlfriend is?
No.
It's Kate Blanchett.
No,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Why didn't I know that?
Don't know how they got her to agree to do it, but obviously, you if you look, you can see it in the eyes. But it's definitely Kate Blanchett.
It's like it's a Daniel Craig in Star Wars type cameo, isn't it? It's like you can just about tell, but yeah.
Yeah. Did Simon Pegg's in that film as well?
Yeah, he's the
like the slug dude,
the slug guy in it. Yeah.
I'd give you 4 quarter portions.
Yeah.
Actually, giving me 1 portion then. Oh dear, yeah, it's great. So shall we? I've said we're going to come back to all of these, and we're talking with no real agenda this time again, folks.
Yeah.
But should we talk a little bit about The World's End?
Yeah, can do. Pierce Brosnan's great.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's your episode right there.
There you go.
We'll see you again.
Quick cap review of The World's End. Pierce Brosnan.
So I watched that. I didn't catch it in the cinemas in 2013. But literally day one the DVD came out. Went and bought it. Rushed home to watch it because obviously Shaun of the Dead, magnificent, hot fuzz, as we've said, 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 film. And I'm like, this is going to be absolutely fantastic. And not to mention as well that the lads had teamed up and made the absolute fantastic comedy Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really good.
Which to my mind should be the third part of this trilogy because it feels more in keeping with the overall tone. But anyway, it's a debate for probably later in this episode. But yeah, World's End went into it and I didn't laugh once.
No, I wasn't hugely keen. I mean, I found Simon Pegg's character quite jarring. And
yeah. Well, do you know I last said that as well when we rewatched it the other day? She's like, it's not right. Simon Pegg's been the quote-unquote straight man for the first 2 entries of the series. And then that role's taken over by Nick Frost in this one, and the dynamics sort of reversed. But Simon Pegg hasn't relinquished the lead, if that makes sense. So he's playing the bumbling sidekick as the lead character.
Yeah, you sort of, you get used to that dynamic. Like, I mean, I'm assuming that was the point, was that we need to switch things up, and but I don't know, it just doesn't work.
I mean, the beautiful thing about the first 2 is though that even though the characters and the scenarios are different, the almost overall blueprint, the skeleton of it is the same.
Yeah,
that's what's picked up and missing, and then the third one feels like the sort of the runt of the litter almost.
It was a bit of a hit and miss for me. I wasn't a swing and miss. For me, I wasn't overly keen on it, but I mean, it's got there's funny moments in it. I mean, some of the dialogue. It was more dialogue heavy.
It was, yeah.
It was more sort of, it felt like it wasn't as kind of, it wasn't as deadpan, and it wasn't as kind of as sort of screwball comedy as the other 2.
No, it certainly wasn't. It felt like they were trying to make more of a film, and funnily enough, that was the commentary I was just going to sort of come on to make, is that when I went back and rewatched it last week, obviously I've not watched it since that viewing in 2013 because I thought it was absolute crap. So pulling the dusty old DVD off the shelf and putting it in again, I went in knowing that it was going to be absolutely rubbish, and so my expectations were on the floor. And I actually had a reasonable time with it.
Okay.
For not expecting so much of it. But I went in sort of thinking, right, okay, this is a tongue-in-cheek sci-fi, not comedy.
Yeah, I suppose that's it, yeah.
And I got more out of it from that. But they're still not great. But, it was sort of an interesting concept, the whole sort of, getting the old schoolmates back together for,
one last ride.
One last ride sort of thing. But yeah, the jokes didn't land, and whereas in Shaun of the Dead, the immaturities of Shaun are almost endearing to his character. Like, he's not a bad bloke, he's not grown up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's in that sort of that, obviously, you get to your late 20s sort of thing, don't you? And your 20s are that time where you evolve really into the sort of the person where you're likely going to be for the remainder of your years, and you sort of, form your own views, and you break free of your sort of your parents and your schooling, and form your own identity, don't you?
Yeah, whereas Simon Pegg's character in The World's End kind of just felt like just a bad dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so he'd not healthily evolved from those days, and sort of, like I say, just sort of lying, and sort of the bit that sort of got me was like, well, I wanted to do this because mum's died, and I just wanted to get the lads back together because she thought you were all great. And then the mum rings him to check up on him halfway there. He's you just lied, and he's literally no reason for it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I don't know. It just. I was never quite sure what to make of World's End because I just don't like people like that.
No,
it just wind me up.
Do you know? Again, I mean, don't want to take it to too much of a personal place, but it struck some chords with me. Did that watching that again?
Reminded me of some of the mates I had at uni that were dicks. Like.
I was thinking a bit more close to home myself, but the whole sort of alcohol abuse bit and sort of like the character genuinely not perceiving that what they're doing is just lunacy.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, bringing it back to the real world, that would be somebody that's ill. Realistically, they're coming from a place of addiction, and
which kind of just makes it a bit sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than funny. I don't know. It wasn't as stylized either, and I think that's a thing. I think that had a massive influence on it because obviously, like, not that Edgar Wright's dialogue isn't great. I mean, it really is as a rule, but it's visual comedy driven. It's like it's more based in the editing and the cinematography. That's what makes it.
Yeah.
That's where half the comedy comes from. You can watch an Edgar Wright movie with the sound off and it's still hilarious.
Yeah, because there's so much going on visually. It's like you say, just universal comedy and sort of feast for the eyes sort of thing because there's always something going on. Yeah, World's End felt more like a bit of a tongue-in-cheek sci-fi because there's a few moments where you have a little bit of a giggle, but there was even watching it again, there was no moments where I went absolutely bent over crease laughing. It doesn't matter how many times I've seen the other two, there are always scenes in it where I'll let out a laugh.
Yeah.
Obviously Fuzz in particular, but it just felt like a poor man's character study.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And the scenes with talking about MVPs before, like Eddie Marsden's the one for me in this one.
He's really good. He's really funny.
He sort of does there's a bit where it's like that is one of the few moments I genuinely laughed later because he sets up this whole sort of thing. This bloke walks up to him in one of the pubs on the on the Golden Mile that they're doing. Is can I have your seat sort of thing? Usual sort of pub chat. And he's completely just flummoxes Eddie Marsden, and so Simon Fox like, take the seat, mate. And he's like, that's the guy that bullied me in high school. He did this to me. He did that to me. He made my life hell, And
which again is a bit sad.
Again, yeah, it's really and he plays it so well. Does Eddie Marsden? He's welling up, and he's like, he's actually traumatised.
Eddie Marsden's a very good actor.
He's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, I've seen him in some great stuff. Like he plays serious characters really well as well. Because I mean, obviously, he's one of those guys that sort of came up on the same comedy circuit in the UK. But yeah, I mean, he's a serious actor. I've seen him in period stuff and
the dude's a heavyweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're sort of talking. It's stuff like that, and then Nick Frost is going on about later, and he's like, well, yeah, after. You basically sort of saying Simon Pegg's character, well, you led me astray, and after everybody else grew up and got married and went on, you wouldn't let me go. And so we carried on. You got me to the point where, they talk about this car crash that Simon Pegg had caused, but then left Nick Frost to deal with the consequences of it. And it's now, obviously he's a recovered alcoholic, and then he gets him back on it as well, and his wife's left him, and it's really miserable stuff. At least
quite tragic, isn't it?
The upset, in Shaun of the Dead, they're going to get back together at the end. You know that them breaking up is the catalyst to send them on the adventure, and he's going to go and save the girl, be the hero, finally grow up and be the man he needs to be. And then in Hot Fuzz, it's the same thing, getting relocated to the country. He's going to make real friends, form actual meaningful relationships with people, and realise that whilst you do have to do your job, there is that fine line of sort of actually I can enjoy myself and actually have a life, and there's more to life. There's the story, but then with that one,
I think one of the reasons why it missed was because the big catalytic event is too weird as well, and it happens too late in the movie. You don't get, because this is the thing. In Hot Fuzz and in Shaun of the Dead, obviously in Shaun of the Dead it happens pretty early on. In Hot Fuzz, it really builds to it.
Yeah.
And you something really bizarre is going to happen, you just don't know what it is. But the whole movie, you're on tenterhooks waiting for it. And the suspense was perfectly done. Whereas with The World's End, it just sort of happened really suddenly.
Yeah, it was just all of a sudden he punches through somebody in the gents, doesn't he? And he's like, he's a robot. But then there's that whole bit where he's like, well, actually, robots are, it's another word for being enslaved, and they don't like that because they're actually free-thinking beings, and like I say, poor man's sci-fi, isn't it? It's like
it's jumbled together as well. It's not very coherent.
No,
and it's such a shame because I hate to slag off Edgar Wright because I think he's amazing, but it's you can't make amazing movies all the time.
No, well, I mean, I wonder, because I've not looked into any of the behind the scenes production of it or any of the tidbits of trivia and stuff like we sometimes do, and I just wonder whether there was any studio interference to make it a trilogy or whatever. Because even like the Cornetto bit in it, it's like it feels forced. Like a rapper just blows past in the last scene of the film, and it's like, right, well, we had to put that in there somewhere. And that the same with there's like a montage at the end, and the clearing the taking the shortcut bit is him running into a chain link fence.
Yeah,
and it's like, so all the tropes that were naturally woven into
in a Hot Fuzz and Shaun of
the Dead, like obviously in Shaun where he can't make the jump and ends up running through the it's like, right, okay, and then next time when he can do it expertly, it's like see what we did there. Yeah, he said it.
It sort of felt like with Edgar Wright, like maybe like that he just didn't really want to do it. Like he thought better of it once he started working on the script, and then it was too late.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, for me, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's not. Don't do it.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah,
just don't.
Coming off a masterpiece like Hot Fuzz.
Well, that's the thing. But then he went off from Hot Fuzz, didn't he? And did Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
And then he's really brought it back with Baby Driver.
Scott Pilgrim's phenomenal.
It really is. Ladies and gents, boys and girls at home, we're all over the shop on this one, aren't we?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Do you know what? I really enjoy just this, like actually just having a natter and just seeing where it goes and stuff like that. And hopefully you guys enjoy it as well.
Yeah. I've just got a new job, so I'm sort of like getting up at 6 in the morning every day and getting home at like 6 at night. So it's kind of not that it's an excuse for making a bad podcast.
I don't think we're making a bad podcast. You'll have to tell us on the
give us a shot
on the Tintweb.
Let us know what you think.
Don't tell us. I'm fragile. I can't take it.
Be alright.
No, it's fine. But no, I suppose it does, doesn't it? Because obviously, like I say, you recently, recently in the last 8-9 months or so, moved back up to Yorkshire with the pandemic being on and stuff like that. It's meant that
it's all been a bit mad.
Yeah, it's obviously not been able to get any sort of consistent working opportunities until the restrictions have started to ease, have you? So it's great for you.
Yeah.
But like I say, you don't realise when you go from having all this free time from being like furloughed or from like I say relocating or whatever, and then it's like all of a sudden it's like 12 hours of your day's gone that you would have been able to use to be creative. It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. I'm getting used to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So, if they were to make another part of this, if they were to turn it into a Cornetto quadrilogy...
Oh, you mean if they were just to replace World's End?
Oh, yeah, if they were just make a better film than The World's End, what would your hypothetical be? What genre would you like to see them take off? Because they've done horror and thriller.
Yeah. Dickensian London would be fun. Like, I'd like to see them do a period piece.
Yeah, because did they do Burke and Hare? Or was that? No, it was Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. I'd like to see them do a period piece of some kind.
It would be quite funny, that, wouldn't it? Actually.
Yeah, or either that or like proper sci-fi. Something
but like right from the offset sort of thing, not like a third act reveal that just comes out of nowhere.
Something futuristic, something in the vein of like stuff like Firefly.
Yeah.
Like talking of westerns, basically space western. Isn't it? But yeah, something like that I think would be really cool, and it could be you could do the whole aliens thing, but subtle.
Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, I love Paul, and that's something that I come back to quite regularly. I would put that in the same sort of tier as Shaun of the Dead. I think Hot Fuzz is top tier in there. I don't think
it's just perfect.
But I would put Paul in the same vein as Shaun of the Dead, and I think that feels more like a spiritual successor than the other one does. I just feel like they're having more fun with it. The comedy's there, it's genuine, and The American cast blends well with the English cast, and
which is hard to do as well. That's a difficult thing to get right, because when you've got like there's certain writers and directors that are really good at that, and certain ones that are terrible. But something Guy Ritchie does quite well.
Yeah, no, it is, to be fair, actually, with Guy Ritchie. I couldn't even tell you who wrote or directed Paul.
I don't know, actually.
But it's one of those, isn't it? Like where it's like it's the comedy duo of Pegg and Frost that just seem to really work well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's yeah, well, like I said about the whole thing about blending American characters with British characters, because you always kind of, I don't know if it's just a British thing, it's just because I'm British and I'm maybe a little bit more sensitive about it than I should be, but it always feels like the American characters are like mocking the British characters.
Yeah, but we give as good as we get.
Oh yeah, we do. Yeah. But the it's not like, often when you blend British and American characters, they make them like they deliberately do it.
Yeah, I mean it's like, I suppose sometimes you watch things like Guy Ritchie's a perfect example of where like you watch somebody and it's like, right, that could be an American person. That could be, that is, that could be a British gangster, that could be an American gangster. But then you watch other filmmakers, and we're sort of like, represented as like, hello there, and yes, I just had tea with the Queen, and how are you today, good sir? Yes, pip pip, cheerio, and all that sort of frost.
Well, even with Guy Ritchie, like even when he's doing it deliberately, and the characters actually are taking the piss out of all the British, it kind of doesn't feel as bad, because it's like he does it snatched, doesn't he?
Yeah.
About London, cup of tea, biscuits, and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, it's great, that film. I love that film. How did we get on from the Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead? And
I suppose they're all in that. Like Guy Ritchie's in that similar sort of circle of directors in terms of style and
British and talented. And Edgar Wright is British, isn't he? I've not dreamt that.
He is. Yeah, Edgar Wright's British. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Edgar Wright is. To me, he's at the top of his game here.
Yeah.
Even up against people like Guy Ritchie. I love Guy Ritchie's movies. I think he's a very clever director, but there's quite a lot of I wouldn't say plagiarism is maybe going a little bit far, but he's basically kind of the British amalgamation of like Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese. And you can tell he's taken a lot of influence from them both, and then just done that, but with British characters, which to me kind of, I do like Guy Ritchie's movies, but some of them just don't feel original.
It's the gangster tone, isn't it? I suppose to a degree.
Yeah. I mean, some of them do feel original. The Gentleman and Snatch, definitely not so much Lock, Stock.
Fair enough. Do you know, I haven't seen Lock, Stock since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And it can't have left much of an impression on me because I can remember barely anything about it.
I always preferred Snatch.
I'm going to say I absolutely love Snatch as a film, and The Gentleman was just absolutely top notch.
That was fantastic. I really enjoyed that.
Do you know, I think Simon Pegg would have done a good job. Not that Hugh Grant wasn't fantastic in it, which is not something you'll hear me saying very often. But as Hugh Grant's character.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't know though, because Hugh Grant, I've never been a fan. I've never been a fan of Hugh Grant, and seeing that was just because that's the equivalent of like what Quentin Tarantino does with people like John Travolta. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he does musicals, right? Let's give him a gun and watch him shoot people and team him up with Samuel L. Jackson, say motherfucker all the time. This is. I've always said this about Tom Cruise as well. Tom Cruise needs a Tarantino movie. He needs Tarantino to give him a character that's totally different from anything he's done before. And that's to give Guy Ritchie his credit, he's really good with that. And this is something as well with Simon Pegg, because whenever somebody says, "Oh, Simon Pegg can play that," even if it's something really off the wall and really weird, I believe them.
Yeah.
Because Simon Pegg can do anything, man.
The guy is phenomenally talented. Yeah. I mean, he's obviously it's Benji in the Mission Impossible movies, and with like Mission Impossible 3 onwards, they've revamped them and sort of turned them into this sort of like team-based adventure, haven't they? I know that there's, we're putting together a team. I know that happens in the first one and the second one.
So I've got a little bit Michael Bay, but I still love them.
But I think they get better and better as the films go on. Yeah. And he's really, he can do the action stuff, but he's almost like sort of James Bond coupled with Q,
rolled
into one. Like, he can handle himself, and he's believable when you see him in the few action scenes that he gets. But he is the tech guy, he is the the brains and the computer guy.
But it's still surprising though, is the thing.
Yeah,
which is cool. When you see him get in a fight or something, and it's like, wow, Simon Pegg can do that. You know what I mean? Like,
but then he's doing Scotty and stuff, and obviously he doesn't look a thing like James Doohan.
He's the only member of the cast that can get away with that.
But because he spent so much time with the family of the original Scotty and like his sons and stuff like that, and he's studied the original series and the movies, and he gets it down to a fine art, doesn't he? Really,
I can't imagine anybody doing a better job. To be like, I was blown away when I saw that.
I tell you one film we need to talk about that Simon Pegg was in with David Schwimmer, no less. It's a film called Big Nothing. And it came out around a similar sort of time to Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead. In fact, I think it might have been even in between them. And they start off by meeting in a call centre. And David Schwimmer's character has just moved to town and needs a job, and so takes this job, what he thinks is a managerial role in a call centre, like online tech support, how can I help, that sort of thing. And then when he gets there, he's in the trenches on the phone, sort of thing, and like I was told I was going to be the manager, and he's like, no, you do 6 months on the phones, then you're the manager. He's like, right, okay. So he meets Simon Pegg. And then they get to talking and go for a drink, and this adventure just goes from there.
Okay.
And then it's one of those where we get to the end of the first act, and then it takes a turn, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, this is what's happening. Okay.
Yeah. It's really, really good. But it's proper low budget one. It was like filmed on like the Isle of Wight and in Wales, but it's set in like Massachusetts or something. It's brilliant. And I can't remember what she's called, but she plays Karen on Californication, plays David Schwimmer's wife, and she's a cop in it. And Alice Eve's in it, and it's just one of them where it's like, oh, that guy, oh, that person, that girl, that lady.
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
But yeah, brilliant little film.
Do you know what I really enjoyed was Absolutely Anything.
That's great as well, with the Monty Python.
Yeah, no, I mean it's got a good cast of supporting actors. Sanjeev Bhaskar's in it.
Yeah,
you've got Eddie Izzard.
Yeah,
Robin Williams was the dog, didn't he?
Yeah.
It's class. That is a good film. Like, I think it was panned a bit at the time.
It went really under the radar. I don't know if it went straight to DVD or not, but I remember it being the last thing that all the Living Pythons did. Obviously Chapman were long gone, but the ones that had just done the tour and the one down, five to go, didn't they call it?
Yeah.
And obviously it was Robin Williams' last credited role, I think, as well.
I think it was, yeah.
Or if it wasn't that, it was the Night at the Museum. But either way, it was.
I think it was Night at the Museum, wasn't it?
Yeah. But
terrible film.
Do you not like him?
I'm not a fan.
Oh, do you know what? I love him. I've got a real soft spot for them. Guilty pleasure all the way.
I'm weird about Ben Stiller. Like,
I can't stand him in most things. I get you. Nothing against you, dude. If you're listening, just don't do it for me.
I've seen him do some great cameos and stuff, man. Like, I mean, that would turn up in the Pick of Destiny was just that was inspired. But I don't know. Him and Adam Sandler. I'm not a massive fan of either of them.
Adam Sandler, I can take or leave. To be fair, folks, we've gone down a rabbit hole.
Our weird British comedy sensitivities. Here we go.
Yeah.
No, what I'm going to get judged for.
No, Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore's fantastic. Big Daddy's great. I even liked, and this one got panned, but him and Andy Samberg teamed up and did a film called That's My Boy.
Oh yeah, that's supposed to be good.
And I love it. It got critically and commercially panned, and I absolutely adore it. I just howled with laughter the whole way through that film. And he's sort of got this whole sort of drunken persona going on. He's always saying like, "What you doing over there, guy?" And he's always talking like that when he's old timey grandma wants to get in on the fun too. And he's almost like a Looney Tune,
Yeah.
It's just mental.
I'll watch it because I love Andy Samberg.
Yeah, they play off each other really well, and it's like you're watching Andy Samberg, but you don't see Jake Peralta.
Yeah,
which is good because he's not been typecast as something.
Because you sort of still do even on SNL sketches, you know what I mean? Because I never really got away with Andy Samberg until I started watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and it was I put it off for ages because it was like I wasn't a big fan of Andy Samberg. The only thing I knew him from was The Lonely Island. And to me, that was just one of those like, oh guys, it's a daft internet craze that you're gonna have stuck in your head for weeks.
Are they the ones that did the Jizzed in My Pants?
Yeah, there was they did a couple of team ups with some of them were really funny. They did a team up with T-Pain. They did some stuff with Justin Timberlake. Like some of the sort of like I think Lady Gaga's on one of them as well. And yeah, it's funny, but at the time I couldn't get on with it, and I'd kind of just put off having anything to do with Andy Samberg. And the first time I watched an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I was just like, right, this is my what is this, and how do I replace my blood with it?
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But this episode has just been a conversation and a cornetto.
Yeah. Got off on a mad tangent. So we've sort of loosely covered the Cornetto trilogy.
I think we have, to be fair, haven't we?
I don't know what more we can say about it other than...
No, Shaun of the Dead, to recap, brilliant.
Yeah.
Hot Fuzz, top tier. World's End, a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it would. I think I'd like to see it in the museum because just as a trilogy, you know, individually, like Shaun of the Dead, I think timeless. Hot Fuzz, it's just a classic. World's End, not so much.
Yeah, I think I would agree, and I think in terms of a trilogy, you could choose a lot worse.
Yeah.
And I think that there are worse part 3s in trilogies.
Yeah, I think so.
Looking at you, Godfather. But you know,
it was just misunderstood.
It insists upon itself.
Robert Duvall.
But yeah, I think it's you know, collectively it's a good watch. They're really talented, even in World's End, where like I say maybe the comedy lacks. There's still good performances. There's still stuff to take away from it. It's not all bad.
Yeah.
So there we go. Yeah, I would say that
You have chosen wisely.
Yeah, objectively, definitely.
I think we're right.
Yeah, I mean it's just I don't know. I think because Hot Fuzz kind of makes up for the shortcomings of the other two.
Yeah, I suppose it does.
It's just so good. It's like it's one of it's not my favourite film, but it's like it's one of the few films that I could describe as being perfect.
Yeah,
there's just nothing. There's nothing to follow.
I'd probably not put Hot Fuzz in my my subjective top 10.
Yeah.
But I'd probably say it's in the top 20.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think, like I say, looking at it objectively, I would say it's damn near perfection, really, as a comedy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have that standard of comedy again. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like, you know, you had stuff in the 90s with like the kind of the screwball stuff with like Leslie Nielsen and Charlie Sheen and, you know, stuff like Hot Shots and
Naked Gun.
And the Naked Gun. And, you know, obviously you had some weird eras of SNL for a while where the films coming out of that crowd weren't as good. From kind of as they were in the sort of 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I think it's they really are they're both timeless and of their time.
Yeah. Here's a question for you: if you had to pick a British SNL lineup of maybe
any era,
like 6 people, from like the let's say like late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, so
because that to me is like the golden age of British, particularly like sketch comedy and sitcom comedy.
I probably have like Paul Whitehouse on.
But
there.
yeah, Paul Whitehouse. He was our generation's John Cleese, man. Like
yeah, I would say Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, maybe that.
And then I'd probably have maybe like Chris O'Dowd. I'm trying to think sort of again she's in the film and she was the contemporary at the time, but Olivia Colman.
Yes, she would. Yeah.
And I think Simon Pegg would have been somebody like that as well. I'm trying to think.
There's got to be a big list, because that was such a brilliant era for comedy. You know, you had like even like supporting cast people.
Deborah
like
Stevenson.
Yeah.
And obviously Culshaw as well. Or is he more 80s though?
No, I would say John Culshaw was. He kind of had his resurgence in the 90s and early 2000s with Dead Ringers, because it was like it was when there were still politicians that were like caricatures themselves, because for a little while there wasn't.
What are you on about? They're still
No, well they are, but for a little while they weren't, and it killed it. Do you know what I mean? It was like as soon as Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, as soon as that was over, and George Bush was too easy. Like John Coleshaw gave it a good go, and like Rory Brownell was really funny with it as well. But like he's another one. Rory Brownell will probably go into mine. Colin McFarlane as well. He was really good.
Good shouts.
But yeah, like when we had like people like David Cameron and Ed Miliband and stuff like that, it wasn't as easy because they weren't like they didn't have really obvious features you could take the mick out of.
You could just put hair on Wallace from Wallace and Gromit, and that could be Ed Miliband.
Oh yeah, man.
Just get Peter Sallis to do it. I mean, God rest him. But whoever's taken over from Peter Sallis.
I think it was on Have I Got News for You. There was a brilliant joke about him, and like, because like Ed Miliband, his name I find is very much like his face. It's unnecessarily long, and the eyes are too close together. Like, that was hilarious. But yeah, for a while it died out. You know, I
suppose it did. Yeah, Ed Miliband's brother had a pretty decent music career.
Oh yeah, Steve
Miliband. Yeah,
Steve Miliband. Some people call me the Space Cowboy.
Do you know some people call me Maurice? Right.
Well, we did that at the same time.
We did indeed.
Zero rehearsal.
Oh, so we're going to move on now. So in episode 9, I embarrassed Phil with a quiz, and then in episode 10, he got his revenge. It was Revenge of the Quiz, Star Wars Episode 3, and equally embarrassed me. And we got to the point where we needed a tiebreaker because I scored 10 out of 20 and Phil scored 10 out of 20.
Yep.
So we've got ourselves 3 questions each, and what we're going to do is I'm going to ask Phil his, and then he's going to ask me mine. And then if there's a clear winner, that's the winner. If we're both equal, then we're both geniuses. Fair?
Yep. Well, I think you're going to get mine pretty easy.
Fair enough. I hope you'll get mine.
Okay.
But I wanted to record a jingle for this bit, but Phil won't let me because it'll infringe on copyright. But I wanted to impersonate the Bee Gees doing Heartbreaker, but instead of doing Heartbreaker, I wanted to sing Tiebreaker.
Okay, yeah.
But you won't let me.
That. Is that? Do you know what? Yeah, we'll give it a go. I'm pretty sure we can get away with that. If like we're being quite funny, so like we can get away with parody, which is exempt. So we're good.
That's all right then. So if we go straight into the quiz, you know that he told me no after we'd stopped recording.
That's why Weird Al Yankovic's never been sued.
Yeah, but if you hear it, you know I won.
Yeah,
and that's the real victory.
Why'd you have to be a tiebreaker?
Right then.
Go on, you go first.
Am I going first then? Right then. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, so we've got Phil Graham here in the hot seat. He's come all the way from Cumbria. Right, Phil, you got your lifelines, you got your phone a friend, you got your Ask This brand new studio audience, and you got your 50-50.
Chris Tarrant here.
Hello, it's Chris Tarrant here from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
You
anyway.
just lost £64,000.
But I didn't.
Right, go on, anyway.
Right, okay, so you don't have any of those lifelines, and actually if you get this wrong, you lose your house.
So it's like, oh my god.
So, question
number 1.
On the ASMR podcast.
Which movie was incorrectly announced as the winner of the Best Picture at the 2017 Academy Awards during the greatest Oscar flub of all time?
Oh god, really? Okay, 2017. Was that?
So they announced it for one film, but it turned out it was another film. What was the wrong film announced?
Oh, I'm trying to think. What was that? The 2017 Oscars. Was that the year where Eddie Redmayne and Benedict Cumberbatch were facing off against each other for Best Actor?
Honestly, don't know. I think that might have been 16.
Grand Budapest Hotel against Birdman.
It was La La Land. They announced La La Land. And it was Moonlight that won.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
And there's the really awkward scene on the stage where they're like, "No, they've just given us the envelope. Moonlight, you guys won."
Yeah.
And the whole cast of La La Land on the stage, and it's just this whole awkward like passing of the torch sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one I thought I'd give you.
Oh, it's my go.
Are we doing it? Are we
Let's
trading
do that.
off?
Let's do that.
All right then.
Because that's like sudden death, isn't it? And if we still tie it, then we have to just think of them off the cuff.
No, I think we just have to agree that we're both geniuses.
Okay. It's big talk for both of us getting 20 out of 40 altogether.
That's the joke.
Well, I just got 20 out of 41. Oh, sorry, 10 out of 41. Oh, maths. Brain. It's in there somewhere.
It is.
I'm not editing this out because the world needs to know how much of an idiot I am. What is the second James Bond film?
What's my next question for you?
Oh, really? Okay, you're going to say it at the same time.
We both got the answer. 3, 2, 1. From Russia with Love. Although technically,
We edited the little bit out beforehand because I went Goldfinger and then.
yeah, technically, if we wanted to get really, really, really technical, Dr. No's the second James Bond
It
film.
is because there was
The
a
black and white
black and
Casino
white
Royale.
Casino Royale. When did the David Niven one come out?
67, between
67.
You Only Live Twice and On Majesty's Secret Service.
Ah, okay. So yeah, technically Dr. No.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, well that was a total fuck up. I've got to come up with another one.
Right, so it's my turn then, is it? Or are you going to ask me another?
No, it's going to have to be my turn again, isn't it? Otherwise, right. Which Life of Brian song did the Monty Python cast reach number 3 in the UK charts in 1991?
Well, I don't know. Do you know that film always reminds me that some things in life are bad.
I can really make you mad.
Other things just make you swear and curse. But when you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle, and this'll help things turn out for the best.
I
Always look on.
That's my terrible Eric Idle impression.
Did I get it?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Right.
I love Eric Idle. It's just so many vowels.
And question number 3.
Most of the alphabet is in there somewhere. Right, go on.
So, which of the following 3 films took more money at the UK box office? It's multiple choice. You've got Joker, Dark Knight Rises, or Dunkirk.
Oh, okay. Well, Joker's the highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It must have been The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah, I reckon it's Joker.
We've got Joker.
Yeah.
It was
It
Joker.
was Joker. Grand, right.
Excellent.
Good.
So we're both a point up then.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, so this is sudden death, isn't it?
I suppose it is. Yeah.
Right. In Anchorman, what does Ron Burgundy think San Diego is German for?
Not got a clue.
Nah?
No.
Do you not remember it?
No.
So when he's in the car with the reporter.
No, I can't bring it to mind.
Ah, San Diego. It's German for whale's vagina. I was gonna go with the what does he think what does he think diversity is, but that's like my catchphrase. I'm always saying it. Yes, I believe it's an old wooden ship.
Oh, dearie me.
Pretty sure I said it on last week's podcast at some point.
Probably did, yeah. Right, well there we go, Phil. You've won.
Have you not got another question for me?
I can give you one. If
Oh
you
yeah,
want.
no, you haven't, have you? Because all right, let's just find a random question online and see what we can do until one of us gets it wrong. Which silent movie star was played by Robert Downey Jr. in 1992?
Charlie Chaplin.
Bastard.
It's a fantastic film.
I haven't seen it. Never seen it.
Okay, so am I asking you one more then?
Yeah, go on.
Okay then. So this is the last question because then we're going to move on to our silly little game. We did say that this was going to be nonsense galore, to be fair. So we have given you nonsense galore.
Yeah.
So, He's only won the once, but how many times has Leonardo DiCaprio been nominated for an Oscar? Is it 4, 5 or 6?
Right, so he won for The Revenant. He was nominated, I believe, for The Wolf of Wall Street. He's nominated for Django, best supporting that. He was nominated for Best Actor in Once Upon a Time. I'm gonna go with 5.
6.
What a miss.
I would imagine maybe like Blood Diamond or The Departed.
Might have been Blood Diamond. He is phenomenal in that. That's a very good film. The Departed. Oh wait, did he not get nominated for Catch Me If You Can?
Not too sure, you know. It
doesn't
doesn't list the films in this question. Yeah. But the dude is absolutely talented as Chuff, and it was an absolute crime that he won for The Revenant, which, in my opinion, controversial opinion, is one of the shittest films I have ever seen. I
reckon that most of Leonardo DiCaprio's performance in The Revenant can be summed up by the 10-minute scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where he's crawling out of his car. He's crawling to his car. Yeah. He's just rolling around the floor going, "Urgh!" That's The Revenant. That's the entire Revenant. It is good. I mean, he is good in it.
I didn't rate it at all.
No?
I've only watched it the once with you when we did that movie marathon, and I just thought, what on earth is this?
Great supporting cast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like Tom Hardy's got a really good bit in it, and
Donald Gleeson's brilliant.
He's again fantastic, and the visuals are stunning. You know, it looks fantastic. But I was bored, and I just thought, this performance it's not bad, but it's certainly not anything like Jordan Belfort in, the character in The Departed. I forget his bloody name. I want to say Billy.
I can't remember. I haven't seen it for ages.
But I mean, the character that he plays in The Departed is absolutely, just those are the ones he should have won for me.
Definitely Wolf of Wall Street.
Absolutely.
It was an incredible performance.
It has come to that time where we are in the third and the final part of our podcast. And as we said...
Should we have a jingle?
Yeah, we'll have a jingle.
I'll have a jingle.
So, as we said, it's time for more nonsense to ensue. And I have, in front of me here, in this velvet envelope...
I hold here in my mortal hand...
The colour of the pen... that I hold in my hand is royal blue. So,
kicking my ass, do you mind? Sorry. Just do like both.
Phil, are you ready to play? Who said that?
I am indeed. So,
10 quotes, Phil.
Right.
And a chance to win 30 points. And fuck all else. You get a point for the actor. You get a point for the character, and you get a point for the film.
Okay.
So you have a chance to walk away with at least a point. So
if I get more than 15, you buy me a pint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always buy you a bleeding pint.
I should probably buy you one of these days.
So to give an example, you can't do do or do not. There is no try. You can't go Franco's, Yoda, Empire Strikes Back.
Mm.
So, or rather, I'm not going to make them that easy.
Yeah.
But if you were to use that quote, and I went sort of like, if you went, oh, it's Yoda, but I couldn't tell you which film it was, you'd get a point.
Yeah.
If you went Yoda and it's Empire, you get 2, and if you could then say it was Franco's. So that's the idea for the folks at home. I am not a quiz show host, as you can probably tell, and will not be getting picked up to do the next season of The Chase. Pointless, maybe, because that's what this whole episode's been. Yeah, we'll have to see.
It's been quite rustic.
I like it. I've enjoyed it. It's good fun. We went really structured for episode 10. But anyway, let's do this. So, where I can do the impressions, the terrible impressions, I'm going to do them.
Right.
Where I can't,
I should have expected nothing less.
Indeed. So, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Marlon Brando, Don Vito Corleone, Godfather.
He's on 3. Okay.
We should probably be making a note of that.
We probably should be.
Because we all got these counts. Let's do a little tally.
Janine!
I'm not Janine.
Sorry about the bug eyes thing, Janine. Are you ready?
Rhonda!
Rooney!
Has anybody fucking seen Rhonda? Ronnie! Right, so 1, 2, 3.
Yes, indeed. Okie dokie. So the next one is Welcome to Prime Time, bitch!
That is Jack Nicholson. It's not, is it? In that case, I've got no idea what it is. I thought it was Jack Nicholson.
It was Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
For some reason, I thought it was a Joker quote from the '89 Batman.
I would love to see a Freddy Krueger movie with Jack Nicholson as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, it started so well.
It did. So I can't do an impression of this next one,
Right.
so I'm just going to say it. I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. I'm going to give you a point.
Fucking hell.
You're clicking your heels together, so I'm going to give you a point. It is Judy Garland as Dorothy in The
Judy
Wizard.
Garland in The Wizard of Oz.
I'll give you a point because you clicked your heels together.
Oh, idiot.
Right, you will
Sorry,
get.
my brain's just.
It's all right. You will get this next one. Bad impression and all. Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
It's Alfred the Butler, and it was Batman Forever.
It was Batman Forever, and it was Michael Gough or Michael Gough. Yes, two points there.
We're on 6.
We're on 6.
6 for 4. It's a bit embarrassing, isn't it?
So 6 for 12.
Oh yeah.
It's
yeah, I suppose so.
yeah.
Alright.
So next one, terrible impression incoming. I hope the Pacific is as blue as it's been in my dreams.
That's Morgan Freeman in The Shawshank Redemption, and the character's name is Red.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
3 points.
Nice.
Did you know originally it was
supposed
going
to
to
be
be
Irish, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, he's in the book, and it was going to be Harrison Ford.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only line they kept over from the script when it was going to be Harrison Ford is when he goes, "Well, maybe it's because I'm Irish." But Morgan Freeman's on a reasonable quality level tonight.
Not too bad.
It's like
Not too bad.
sometimes I do it and I sound like I'm choking on chuffing snot, but like tonight, yeah, only a little bit. Game over, man! Game over!
Oh no. No, my mind's gone totally blank. Sorry, dude.
It was
No.
Bill Paxton as Hudson in Aliens.
Okay, yeah. It's another one I haven't seen for ages.
Fair enough. This one I'm hoping you'll get right off the bat.
Right.
You get wise, Jake. You get to church.
Oh, right, okay. Blues Brothers. Cab Calloway.
2 points.
Cab Calloway? No. Wait, I'm going to have those 2 points. What is his character called? Oh, I can't remember.
Curtis.
Damn it! Oh, I'm going to be kicking myself for that.
Okay, next one. So we're on to quote number 7. Again, terrible impression incoming.
I've got 11 points.
11 out of 30. Then, after 7 years, I was sent home to my family. And now, little man, I give this watch to you.
That is Christopher Walken in Pulp Fiction. And I've got no idea what his character's called.
Captain Coons, apparently.
Coons, okay.
So that's another 2 points. Okie dokie. Right. So, quote number 9. No, number 8, sorry. But hang on a minute.
You missed one.
I have. It's alright. So,
Because the ball is on a string and attached to the cup.
but it's okay, because the board is on a string. So,
I just start him off to do these impressions, you know.
I don't need any starting off.
It's what gets me to sleep at night.
Oh. I fought in your general direction. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries.
That was John Cleese in The Holy Grail. And does that character have a name? Is it a French soldier?
Right, so I'll give you a point for French Soldier, and
Okay.
I'll give you a point for Holy Grail, but it was Graham Chapman,
No,
according to IMDb.
it wasn't.
Was it not?
Absolutely not.
IMDb's got that wrong on the quotes list then.
Yeah, it was definitely John Cleese.
Then you can have the point.
Thank you. I'll prove it to you. It was, yeah, no, you can trust me, no, it was definitely John Cleese. I will rescind the point if I'm wrong.
Fair enough, we can write to IMDb, write a strongly worded letter from the museum.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if this was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah.
Well, you've just lost £64,000. I fucking haven't.
Well, no, John Cleese was a French soldier, but because there's a few, there's like, because when he says about throwing the I can't remember what it is in French, something la bâche. He's not about throwing the cow over the wall, and they all come out with it they all pop their heads around the door, and I'm fairly certain John Cleese. I think they're all like out the 6 of them. There's 4 of them in there, but yeah, it was definitely John Cleese, the guy on the top.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the next one is snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
That is Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones in Raiders.
I'll give you that.
Nice.
Okay. Right then, and to bring us home for quote number 10, I'm going to be nice and easy for you, mate. And it's, I'll be back.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, T-1000, Terminator, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I will give you that. He's, yeah.
I was trying to remember when, because the thing that always throws me off about Terminator is when Edward Furlong's teaching him stuff in the second one.
Yeah.
It's like, was that one of the things that like the Hasta La Vista thing?
Yeah, that's Hasta La Vista and talk to the hand.
Yeah,
isn't it, in the second one, but I'll be back is when he goes to the police desk.
Yeah.
Is he not the T-800? Is the T-1000 the melting one?
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm giving you the point.
I've never been a huge fan of the first one.
Do you know what? It's grown on me. It's been one of them where it's sort of like T2 is obviously the absolute top-notch one.
Yeah.
But Terminator, I've really grown a sort of a love for it.
So I just always remember it as that Fast Joe sketch with the guy that goes around saying everything's brilliant.
Yeah.
Paul Whitehouse. But the sequels are brilliant. It's like a different film. It's the same film but with a different number, like 2. It's like Terminator 2. It's brilliant. It's about this bloke, right? You can turn into a puddle and back again. It's brilliant.
Okay, so do we want a bonus one? There's no points or anything in it, but just see if you can tell me where this is from.
Yeah.
I've
got 21.
You happy with that?
I'll take that, yeah.
21 out of 30.
Take that.
So
you sir, owe me 1 pint.
I do indeed. So your bonus question for no extra points.
Okay. For absolutely no reason at all.
Okay, is just tell me the film and the characters that this exchange takes place in.
Right.
What does it do? It's the beauty of it. It doesn't do anything.
Oh. Brain, come on, do the thing. Is that from Hitchhiker's Guide?
It's not.
No, it's not. What is it? I know what it is. Is it British characters? Because I'm thinking British accents.
It's not.
It's not. It is American characters.
It could be, but it's not.
I don't know. Well, I do, but I can't.
Well, would you like the answer?
I would like the film, and then I might be able to tell you.
Well, I can't do that. I've got to give you the full answer, or I can't give you an answer.
Are the characters in the title of the film? Is that right?
So, I will give you the answer,
Okay.
though it may shock and disturb you. That quote isn't from anything. That quote has never been used in a film, but is a widely accepted Mandela effect.
Really?
Yeah.
I can picture it.
Huh?
That's bizarre. That's so weird.
So unless in like the last 2 years somebody's taken that and put it in a film.
It's the way you pronounced it as well, like
I know.
the inflection and stuff. It's like that feels like deja vu. That's really odd.
Yeah.
Shit.
Laura gave me that because there's a guy that we watch on YouTube who does like unsolved mysteries and spooky cases and stuff, and he did weird Mandela effect things, and that was one of them. Is everybody recognises that quote,
but
it's not from anywhere, and it's a Mandela effect. It's sort of like everybody knows it, but it's actually from nothing.
I wonder if it's used on that advert or something.
Yeah.
It's so vivid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's really weird.
So there you go. So that's why it was for no points, because you were never.
Yeah, because I was never going to get it right anyway. All right.
But there we go.
For absolutely no reason at all. Here's another question.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and Phil, that has been episode 11 of Lost in His Own Museum. Now, if you remember, if you follow our Twitter, if you've intercepted the Lost in His Own Museum carrier pigeon, which I believe is somewhere south of Sheffield at this moment in time, you might remember that we did a little poll where we said, which Ben Affleck directed effort did you want us to take a look at in a future episode? We gave you the options of Gone Baby Gone, The Town, and The Magnificent Argo. Well, Argo actually won out, and so episode 12, we're going to be looking at Argo.
We are going to look at Argo.
So thank you so much as always for listening to us here at the museum. We do hope that you've enjoyed our free-form ramblings and our nonsense galore as we promised you.
We may as well have been drunk.
Absolutely. And the fact that we are both stone cold sober makes it even worse.
Yeah, I'm going to go and fix that.
Good man.
Right. Remain indoors, have a pleasant apocalypse, and we'll see you next time when we talk about Argo. See you later.
Bye.